many have seen this before? Okay. Oh, answer me, if you will. Okay. That's the first thing you'd hear. For the like of them, the Vietnamese couldn't figure out that rhythm. They thought it was, it doesn't, same number of taps, essentially in the same order, but that's different. Okay, that gets you to there, and then on the wall with this new guy, he'll tap 26 times, over and over, until he figures it out. 26 times, 26 letters. Okay, now we go there. Then you start explaining to him this setup, this matrix.
But before you guys were in POWs, when you were flying over the bad guy territory, you were not taught this before.
No, no.
That's amazing.
There was Smitty Harris, the guy that had the child thrown at him. He had heard it on an offhand remark at a survival school. And after the session he was in, he went back to the instructor and says, "Tell me about this thing." And so he explained it to him. The matrix, you got the AFLQB down this way, and then across. Of course, the one big thing, K would be here, no K. So we use letter C. So what we got here, you see if you can follow me on this.
You got to explain it to them.
B.
What would that be?
B. That's HI so far.
Which way, sir, is
Does it go
first?
down or
Yeah,
up?
you got to explain it to them.
I mean, you're on the other side of the wall, trying to figure this out. So starting again.
G.
That one's easy. That's G. G. Okay.
L.
That'll be one. What do you think?
L.
It's either going to be a B
Or an F.
or an F. Okay. Okay.
T.
Actually, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Either U or a Y.
So let's try that. We got a G.
God bless you.
Lots of it. There you go. God bless. GBU. God bless you. So every night you'd hear good night, and then God bless you. Okay. We started trying to do on the wall, a dot and a dash, a Morse code, much faster. But what would happen if I continued hitting on this wall this way? Pretty soon I'd get a mark on that wall, and the Vietnamese jailers would know it, and you would be punished. So tapping was much easier. So there was another, that was one code that we had. We used it in sweeping with your broom. You could sweep with that code. You could do it with all sorts of things like the cough, hack, sneeze thing. We had numbers for if a cough or a hack or sneeze, like anything to get a person's attention. If you had a view of somebody, if you could have a little small slit and you could see through that, you could see somebody else, then you could do hand signals. So have you been exposed to the hand signals? No. The deaf and dumb code depends on some close-in movements and like that. But when you're talking about a hole like this that you got can get your hand into, then A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And why this is Q, I don't know, but that's where it is. R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, X, Y, Z. And so
That's cool.
Communication with friends made your day. It was the only thing that you could survive by. You had to have that kind of communication with friends. Okay, let's do this.
One other quick question, sir.
Yeah.
You were shot down in August of '65
Yes.
and came back in February of '73, so 7.5 years. How many other prisoners had been there even before you and were
I was
longer?
the 24th guy shot down in the mill.
And how long was the longest?
8.5 years.
8.5
That was Ed Alvarez. He was the original Gulf Thompson incident.
Sir, when you were in prison, did you know about some of the events in the world, like walking on the moon in 1969?
At one point, we were able to get some packages, we got some information in that way. They had what we call the bitch box, a small speaker in the room, and one day they came on the box and said, we don't have to have Neil Armstrong to tell us what the surface of the moon looks like. It says, all we have to do is look in the southern part of our country. So we knew Neil Armstrong had been on the moon. Little things like that. People who came in after us were the font of knowledge that bring it in. And you had, as long as you had that communication between rooms, you had that information that you really wanted. Okay. After that Hanoi March, before that Hanoi March, they had some torture. After the Hanoi March, they went into torture in a big way. This is just one of them. It's just what you, well, this was not really torture. This was just sustained punishment. I was in this way without this rope, with the handcuffs that I showed you earlier behind my back, and then this bar with the stirrups on, and they were tied. The stirrup was tied at either end, so my feet were out like this, like on behind my back. I was that way for 30-some odd days. On one way, Larry Garino, who was in there for 8 months, by the way. But they would let you out to eat. They wouldn't let you out to use the bucket. You had to try to figure that out on your own, and you could. Incidentally, that says McGrath. Mike McGrath is the lieutenant commander, now retired Navy captain, who did all these sketches. I had one problem with the sketches: the people look too much in good shape. There, for what way we looked at. Give you an idea of this. I moved from one room to another after I moved away from Larry. Walked into this room, there were three other guys in there. The first meal, I tried to give my food to this guy. To me, he looked like a guy from Dachau. Really emaciated, really looked bad. So you better eat this thing. He says, you're looking bad. He put it back to me. And he says, you keep it. He says, you look worse than I do. I looked at the other two guys and they're nodding their head. So.
How much did you weigh going in and how much did you weigh coming out?
At that time, the Air Force highest weight you could have was 193 for my height. I weighed 191. So,
Going in.
going in. At one point, I figure I was somewhere between 80 and 95 pounds.
Holy cow.
I had the opportunity, we had our strings that hold up your net, and I put knots in it at one time, and now the knot on the string, I still have it at home. It comes around about here.
Wow.
I could lay on my back and put my hand on my groin area where my hand was way below the tips of my hips coming up. So,
Wow.
What did they give you for food when you were a prisoner, sir?
what did you say?
What did they feed you?
What was your food as a prisoner?
Oh, okay. Anything that was in the local market that was cheap. We had one thing which we call sewer greens. It was a vegetable similar to what it was like spinach, but when they cooked it, it left like an oily slick at the top of the water. Every kind of rice you can imagine, a lot of them with the pebbles and the sand still in it, but edible. When we first had gotten shot down, they even had some French bread. If you get a small loaf of French bread, about that.
Why don't you show them your cup there?
Oh, yeah. This is over 45 years old, because this was my cup there. And we were talking, here's, when you got to your spoon, very similar to the Chinese spoons that you get for your wonton soup, we bent the ends of it down so the food would get lost in a soup bowl like that. That was unique to us. This was another instrument of communication. If you got a wall and you can't hear the taps too well, but you want more information, let's try to talk through a wall like that, of concrete and stones and like that. If I take a towel and I wrap it around that cup and I talk into that cup with my mouth firmly against that towel, I muffle my voice around here, but I amplify my voice with vibrations at the end of the cup. And I can find a point on that wall where that sound will go through, so somebody on the other end, turning that cup and putting it on the wall like this, can now hear. And I can talk through a wall that thick.
Wow.
And we did. We've got
We have about 10 minutes left, sir.
okay. We got for water, they brought us boiled water all the time. And we had like a tea caddy that they pour the water into, held maybe a quart. And that was our water for the day.
Push it again.
Technical difficulty with 4-year-old clock.
Sir, another question for you.
Yeah.
To my understanding, the uniform I'm wearing right now was made for Vietnam. Did you ever get the chance to wear this same uniform or no?
VDUs. The uniform he has, the battle dress uniform.
Oh,
Did you wear those or not?
no.
No?
They did not exist when I was I had the thin cotton flight suit before they had the Nomex flight suits like that, but not the BDUs. Okay. We had the our bed. There's the guy on it. Oh, one time in there, I'm on one bed at one place, and Larry Byrne was over on this other side, and we had gotten the mosquito net up away from us, the two of us in the iron like this, and with the head buff behind the back. When the guard came by to deliver bananas, and what we call monthly bananas, which is about maybe 5.5 inches long, banana like that. He threw them onto the bunk from the doorway, and my banana landed between my legs and right up and nestled partly under my shorts. Larry thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen in his life. When they really wanted to get to you, then they started the actual torture session. This is when. Can I have a volunteer? Can you volunteer?
We have about 6 minutes, sir.
Turn around. Okay, now. Tell me when this feels. Awful. Okay. Now look what I'm doing. I'm pushing his elbows, trying to get them together. If I tried really hard, I'd be able to get his elbows within about 3 inches of each other, like better. But lay them down and putting straps, whatever, around up in this area of the arms, and just squeezing, holding it tight, really tight, and continue on, and then leaving the person that way. The pain is progressive. You can take the pain originally. He says it hurt. What happens, of course, is your rib cage gives you a fulcrum, and you push and you pull your arms out of the sockets of your shoulders. Okay. That's one form. Another form is to put flexible handcuffs around your arms about here and squeeze them click by click until the bones in your forearm would go to each other together and leave you that way. Another case where things were progressive pain. And the first time I was tortured, the reason was because they wanted me to write a letter admitting that I was a war criminal and to thank the Vietnamese for their kind and lenient treatment. That's the first time. Other times it was there for repeated the same thing for communication of what happened. I was tortured 4 times during that period of time, and other people a lot more than that. Robbie Reisner was years of it continued. After the Sante raid, we had, who here knows about the Sante raid?
We talked about it briefly in class, how we tried to rescue the prisoners, but they were gone.
Special Forces put together what they was a camp that they had identified where POWs were, and they came in and tried to release some of us. We had been moved out of that camp about 2 months prior to the time that they hit it. But the idea that they would come after us, that was a boost, I can't believe. But after it, they congregated us into larger rooms like this. we only have a few people shown here, but you can see all these mats along here. You could have anywhere from 30 to 50 people in that room. And now you have what you could term the POW experience. This is where we have things like teaching classes. We have people teaching languages. We had one guy, Dr. Warner, he gave us a course in life, all the way from the original one cell as life just continues to grow.
Okay.
The guy had an IQ of 180 years old.
Just a second, sir. Guys, the bell's going to ring in a minute or two. I'm going to excuse you guys, make you late to the class. Just sit right here. Let's finish the lecture. You handle the next PE class going in. I'm going to tell them to go straight to dress out, okay? And I'll excuse this
They're not
class till
gonna
we
dress
finish.
out. They're meeting with Glenn.
Okay, all right.
So tell
Send
them
them to the Heritage Room around that way.
Around the back.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Questions? Keep going.
Nope.
I was gonna ask who would be.
Oh,
No, no, that's all right.
okay. So I have these larger rooms. Here's one guy is trying to massage another guy's arm. We had the guy that had, his arm was almost separated, right in the forearm area, and his hand was just about going to atrophy. And this other guy would sit by his side for hours, just massaging the thing. So that when he finally came home, he still had a hand at the end of that arm. Yes.
Did anybody you know try to escape during the time that you were?
Yes, and that was the case where the guy tried to escape, but it was ill-advised. It was in a position where he had almost a zero chance of success. And the torture that came by after that was such that we hadn't experienced before. I mean, it was wholesale, and the only thing that stopped it was the death of Ho Chi Minh. And when he died, things started to improve. But we believe, I believe, that this guy did it for his own personal reasons. His thought, I need to have that on my record. I need to escape. But he had no idea of the other people that he was hurting. Like one of us died as a result of that. Here's the communication through the wall. On that, go ahead.
How often could you do that? The Vietnamese were not listening for you, or just
No.
they got slack and?
There, but you had maybe one guy in the room clearing and another guy.
Okay, so you would watch out for each other.
Yes.
Okay, good. That makes sense.
Try it again. We're getting out at the end of it, don't we? And there's listening to it and tapping at the same time. Okay? There's the results of the straps around the arm. Here's the results of the handcuffs on. For a period of about 15 years, I could scratch right here on my arm, and I could feel tingles in my fingertips because of nerve damage to that area.
When you came out of camp, would you go to a hospital? How long were you in the hospital to recover? Or?
We lived, when we came back, we went to whatever service we were to one of their hospitals closest to our home. In my case, my wife was living in Indiana, and the closest one was Wright Patterson in Ohio. And so that's where I came.
How long were you in the hospital?
There about 20 to 30 days, I can't remember exactly.
And so you were quite unusual, really.
No.
Most people are only in the hospital for a few weeks, or I thought, really? And you were 90 pounds? You were
Well, by that time I had gained weight.
okay.
On the diet that they had I probably was 120, 130.
Okay.
This is the last line I got. This indicates the kind of bump this small room would be. Goes from here to about there. There's a bucket. I think that's the last one you got there.
Okay, we have some couple moments for questions and answers, please.
Anything else? Go ahead.
What was the first meal that you had once you got back?
They tried to put us on a bland diet, and they almost had a riot at the hospital that we went to at Clarkfield in the Philippines. That was our first stop out of Vietnam. And so we had whatever we wanted. Some guys wanted hamburgers, some wanted steaks, some wanted eggs, whatever it was. We ate whatever we had in mind. Go ahead.
Did you fly in the Korean War also, sir?
These things don't work too well. To say that again.
Did you fly in the Korean War?
Yes.
Those are the first pictures up there.
Yeah. We
Video.
got 75 missions air to air on that trip. And the way that worked, when I got out there as a second lieutenant, the first 50 missions you flew on somebody's wing. The next 25 you could fly as an element lead and in the four-ship. And the last 25 you could go as flight lead, and the flight leads were the ones that were getting the MiGs. So I got 75 missions, but never got to the flight lead position at that time.
Have you ever started with post-traumatic stress disorder?
I'm qualified for the post-traumatic stress with the VA. And what was that time when they had escaped that we talked about, and they came after Larry. Larry was the senior guy in the entire camp as far as we were concerned. And he was taken out one night after what would be termed lights out. Well, of course, the lights didn't go out, but that was the time when we were supposed to have our nets up, and we were under our nets on our plank bed. At that point, you usually were safe from there until the gong the next morning. It was about half an hour or 45 minutes after that, all of a sudden I heard keys rattling. And even today, if I hear keys rattling at the wrong time, all of a sudden I've got an adrenaline rush. So, you had a question?
Yeah. Do you have any very memorable moments while you were in prison, or any funny moments?
Any memorable moments or what?
Funny.
Any memorable or funny?
Funny moment? Well, I have a banana thrown off my shorts. that was one. We named one of those camps the zoo, because everybody says this must be the zoo because but it's the only place I've ever seen where the animals come to see the people.
The animals come to see the prisoners.
I had the time in that big room there where we had this guy, Dr. Ronald, the guy that I said had the IQ up 180 or whatever it was. He also was, he was weird. He was flitting around that room, just like, almost like a little fairy, just walk like that. He was a Marine,